Good morning, students. Live class for 10 science, chapter number 4, metals and non-metals. This is the first class of this chapter, so watch carefully. Okay, all the students, please join this class. So, metals and non-metals. Okay, if you cannot hear my voice clearly, you can write in comment box if my voice is clear or not. Can you hear me clearly? Please write. Okay. Metals and non-metals. What do you understand by metals? You know that about some metals, that copper is a metal, silver is a metal, gold is a metal. Okay, you know about some non-metals like carbon, phosphorus, these are non-metals. But what are they actually? Chemically, what they are? You know about elements. What are elements? Elements are made up of same kind of atoms. Those are elements. So we divide elements into three categories: metals, non-metals, and metalloids. Metalloids have properties between metals and non-metals. So basically, in this chapter, we are going to study about metals and non-metals. Okay. Metals and non-metals. First of all, in this chapter, we will learn their properties, physical and chemical properties. Okay, so first we take physical properties of metals. Metals की physical properties. Physical properties means their appearance. Okay, what they are physically. Their physical properties include. Can you write some physical properties of metals? For example, gold, silver. How do they appear? What are their properties? Okay, so you know that metals are hard. Metals are hard substances. Okay, and generally solids. Okay, metals are solids. Metals की properties की बात करें तो generally solids होती हैं and hard. But there is one exception that one metal is not solid. That metal is mercury. Mercury is not solid. जो thermometer में mercury होता है, that is liquid. Okay, so there is one exception in solids, that is mercury. Okay, metals are solids and hard substances. Okay, there is a property of metal which you have studied many times: ductility. You know about ductility. You have studied this in previous classes. Ductility means metals can be drawn into wires. एक metal से आप लंबे wires बना सकते हैं. For example, अगर आप 1 ग्राम gold लेते हो, if you take 1 gram gold, then you can make a 2 kilometer wire from that 1 gram. For example, this is 1 gram gold, and by this 1 gram gold, you can make a 2 kilometer wire. 2 kilometer, you can think that how long this is. So 1 gram से आप 2 kilometer wire ductile कर सकते हैं. So that's why the ductility of metals is. So metals are highly ductile. Okay, metals can be drawn into wires. ठीक है. There is another property which you also know, malleability. Malleable का मतलब होता है किसी भी चीज की sheets बना देना. Malleability. So malleability means metals can be beaten into sheets. उनकी जो पतली पतली sheets हम बना सकते हैं metals की. Okay. So if you ask, if somebody asks which metals are highly ductile, which metals are highly malleable, gold and silver are the most ductile and malleable metals in elements. Okay. So you understand what is ductility, what is malleability. Everybody has understood? Okay. Another physical properties of metals is that metals boiling point and highly melting point is very high. Melting point and boiling point. You know about melting point, the temperature at which any metal melts. Okay, that is melting point, and boiling point and metal starts to, and a liquid starts to boil. Okay, so metals say mercury is a liquid, so uska boiling point होगा. So metals have high melting and boiling points. This is another property of metals. Why metals have high melting boiling point? Because you will study this about later. That metals are ionic compounds. Okay, and ionic compounds have strong inter-ionic connection bond, so they have high melting boiling point. Another property very simple that metals are sonorous. Sonorous का मतलब क्या होता है? All metals are sonorous, which means that they produce sound. Okay, कोई भी आपको sound produce करना है, तो you use metals. Metals are sonorous. When they are beaten, they produce sound. Okay. So these are some of the physical properties of metals. Non-metals are almost opposite of metals. For example, non-metals are can be solids, liquid or gases. अगर हम non-metals की बात करते हैं, so they can be solids, liquids or gases, like non-metals. Any state, they can be found in any state, but generally they are in liquid or gaseous form. Liquid and gaseous form. Okay, they are generally softer than metals. Ductility, no, non-metals are not ductile. Non-metals are not malleable. High melting boiling point, non-metals have lower melting boiling point than metals. Okay, they are not solid. So these are some of the physical properties of metals and non-metals. Another property is conductivity. Conductivity means conductor of heat and light, current. So metals are highly conductor of heat. Okay, metals heat को बहुत जल्दी conduct करते हैं. For example, you can write here high conductivity. High conductivity. Okay. Metals are good conductor of heat and electricity, while non-metals are bad conductor of heat and electricity. जो भी आपके wires होते हैं, जो भी conductor substances होते हैं, they are generally made up of metals. For example, copper, silver. ठीक है, wires are generally made of metals because they conduct electricity. Okay, high conductivity of heat. But do you understand? Means अगर आपको heat conduct कराना है, तो you should make metals. That, for example. This is a metal rod. This is a metal rod, और you start heating this. अगर आप इसको heating start करते हो इसकी, and on one end you put some wax. There is a metal rod. On one end of metal rod you put some wax. मोम आपने रखा, और एक end पर आपने any candle. You put any candle. What happens after some time? The wax starts melting. मोम पिघलना शुरू हो जाता है. क्यों? Because this metal has conducted heat from this candle. यहाँ से heat start हुआ और heat travels from here to there, melting the wax. So metals are good conductor of heat. Okay. Non-metals are bad conductor of heat, but there is one exception: graphite. Graphite जो होता है, graphite is a form of carbon. Carbon, you know, atomic number 6, carbon. So graphite is a form of carbon. You can say this is an allotrope of carbon. So this non-metal is a good conductor of electricity. Okay, this non-metal is good conductor of electricity. Graphite will conduct electricity. Okay, so these are some of another properties. Metals, you know that metals shine, they are lustrous. So metals are lustrous, while non-metals do not shine. Non-metals shine नहीं करते हैं, they are non-lustrous, but still there is one exception: iodine. Iodine is a non-metal, but it is lustrous. आपने iodine के crystals अगर देखे हो तो उसमें shine होती है, चमक होती है. So that's why iodine is lustrous. Okay, these are some of the exceptions. Metals are generally hard, but in this also there is an exception, that sodium and potassium. Sodium and potassium. Okay, these are those metals which can be cut with a knife. अगर आप सोडियम का एक क्रिस्टल लेते हो और उसको नाइफ से कट करते हो, that will cut into two parts. So all metals are solids, but sodium and potassium are very soft. Okay, and mercury is a liquid. There are some metals like gallium and cesium. गैलियम एंड सीजियम, अगर आप गैलियम और सीजियम को अपने पाम पर रखते हो, then they will melt. They have so lower melting point. Gallium and cesium. Okay, so these are what the physical properties of metals. You can read all this from your books and notes. Okay, these are very simple. How can you prove that metals are good conductor of electricity? If somebody asks you that prove that metals are good conductor of electricity, how will you prove? Okay, so how will you prove that metals are high conductor of electricity? That's very simple. You make an electric circuit. आप एक बैटरी लगाते हो सर्किट में, जैसे इलेक्ट्रिसिटी चैप्टर में आपने सर्किट बनाना सीखा है. Okay, you put a bulb, okay, and if you put a metal in between the wires, अगर wires के बीच में आपने metal को put किया, then this bulb starts glowing. It proves that metals are good conductor of electricity. While if you put a non-metal in the circuit, in the wire, it will not glow because non-metals are bad conductor of electricity. So these were the physical properties of metals and non-metals. The most important topics are chemical properties, because all of these you are very well aware, but chemical properties are the main concept of this chapter. Chemical properties generally includes reactivity, that how do some metals react with other reagents. For example, how do metals react with oxygen, with water, okay, with acids. Okay, we will study reaction of metals with water, oxygen, acids, okay, and other salts. So chemical properties of metals. Before you should know that metals are electropositive in nature. Electropositivity का मतलब होता है, for example, sodium. You know that atomic number of sodium is 11, and electronic configuration of sodium is first shell 2, second 8, and 1. So to get the stable state, you know, every atom, every matter in this world wants to stay stable. So it will get stable when one electron is removed from the sodium atom. That's why sodium will get positive charge. Okay, so we say that metals are electropositive. It means that metals lose electrons. Electrons पर negative charge होता है, so negative charge जब remove होगा, then metals get electropositive. Okay, while non-metals are electronegative. Non-metals are electronegative because they gain electrons. For example, fluorine. Fluorine का atomic number होता है 9. Electronic configuration is 2 and 7. Now, to get the stable octet, octet means that shell in which there are 8 electrons. To get octet, it will try to get 1 electron. It will gain 1 electron, that's why it is electronegative. Electronegative. So fluorine has negative charge on its ion. Okay? Because it will gain 1 electron to get stable. So metals are electropositive and non-metals are electronegative. You should know about this. Now we will study the reaction of metal with oxygen. Metals with oxygen. How do metals react with oxygen? See, oxidation. What do you understand by oxidation? See, you know that when you burn something, Burning requires oxygen. Okay, so burning is a oxidation reaction. अगर आप किसी भी सब्सटेंस को जलाते हो तो ऑक्सीजन की रिक्वायरमेंट होती है. ओके, एनी सब्सटेंस बर्न्स इन प्रेजेंस ऑफ ऑक्सीजन. ठीक है, सो देयर इज ऑक्सीडेशन इन जनरली बर्निंग. ओके, सो देयर आर मेनी मेटल्स. You should know that there is a reactivity series. What is a reactivity series? Reactivity series जो होती है, that is a list of metals. Reactivity series or activity series is a series of metals in order of reactivity. I am writing this reactivity series. You must always remember this series. For example, sodium, potassium. K is potassium. You know about the symbols. In 9th class we have studied. Sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium. Sodium, potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium. Okay, aluminium. These are all metals. Aluminium, iron, lead. Okay, aluminium, Pb. What is Pb? Pb is lead. Lead. Pb. Okay, so sodium, potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc. aluminium के बाद आता है zinc, iron, lead. Okay, after that copper and gold and silver. So this is a reactivity series. इस series का क्या meaning है? It means that potassium is the highest reactive metal. Potassium सबसे ज़्यादा reactive है. Then reactivity decreases in this order. Most reactive potassium, then sodium, calcium, magnesium. Zinc is less reactive than potassium. Okay. Then iron, lead, and copper. Okay. So these are the reactivity series of metals. So potassium, sodium, calcium, and magnesium. These four metals are the highly reactive metals. First four metals you can see that these are highly reactive metals, while aluminium, zinc, iron, lead, these are moderately reactive. They are in the middle of reactivity series. They are neither very highly reactive nor very less reactive. They are moderately reactive. Okay. After that, copper, silver, and gold. These are very less reactive. Okay. So we will study reaction of potassium with oxygen. Reaction of potassium or sodium. We take sodium with oxygen. Okay. So you know that potassium and sodium are very highly reactive. Okay. So for burning, they do not require heat. किसी भी चीज को आप बर्न करते हो तो आपको थोड़ी सी हीट चाहिए. Okay, heat plus oxygen. But sodium and potassium are so reactive that they catch fire in open air. Means अगर आप सोडियम को और पोटेशियम को खुली हवा में रख देते हो, then they start burning because they are very reactive with oxygen, and reaction with oxygen means burning. So when sodium reacts with oxygen, they start burning. Na2O. Okay, sodium with oxygen makes sodium oxide. Okay, sodium oxide. Similarly, potassium catch fire in open air because potassium is highly reactive and it reacts with oxygen in the air to burn. Okay, can you balance this reaction? Very easy. Sodium are 2, here sodium is 1, so we put 2 here. Okay, and oxygen are 2, so we also have to put 2 here. Now sodium is 4, so Na will be 4. So by hit and trial method you can solve this. Similarly, you can balance this reaction. Oxygen are 2, so 2 and 4. In this way you can balance any reaction. So this was the reaction of sodium, potassium, highest reactive metal with oxygen. Okay, they do not require heat. Now, if we react the moderately reactive metals with oxygen, for example, aluminum, aluminum plus oxygen. ठीक है, aluminum reacts with oxygen, you give some heat. Aluminium will not burn in air, but you have to give some heat to form aluminium oxide. Al2O3, aluminium oxide. Okay, reaction aluminium reacts with oxygen to form aluminium oxide. Formula of aluminium oxide is Al twice O3. Okay, you can balance this reaction. Oxygen is 3, here 2. So we have to make their LCM, which is 6. We have to make oxygen 6 on both sides. So 3O2 and 2O3. Now oxygen is 6 on both sides and aluminium is 4. Okay, in first chapter you have studied about this, that how do you balance the reactions. Okay, similarly you can write now in your notebook, you will write down the reaction of iron with oxygen. Write down in your notebook reaction of iron with oxygen. What it will be? Iron plus oxygen, iron oxide, ferrous oxide. Okay, you can balance this reaction very easily. Iron plus oxygen, iron oxide, balance this reaction. So then the conclusion is that metals react with oxygen to form oxide. Highly reactive metals like potassium and sodium do not require heat, they burn directly in open air to form their oxides. So this was the reaction of metals with oxygen. If any doubt, you can write. Now, in this reaction, the products are oxides. Okay, sodium oxide, potassium oxide, aluminium oxide, and iron oxide. What are these oxides? In chapter 2, remember chapter 2, आपने पढ़ा था कि metal oxides are basic in nature. Metal oxides का जो nature होता है वो basic होता है. तो जो base होते हैं acid base, जो base होते हैं that are generally made up of metals. Okay, so these all are basic in nature. Sodium oxide is basic in nature. Why? Can you write down? Why sodium oxide is basic? Because it is a metal oxide. Okay, potassium oxide is also basic, but aluminium oxide is basic as well as acidic. Iron oxide is basic as well as acidic. Why? Metal oxides are basic in nature, but you can see that in this list, in this series, these aluminium, zinc, iron and lead are in between this series. Means these are moderately reactive. Metals की सबसे ज्यादा प्रॉपर्टीज किसमें है? जो हाईली रिएक्टिव. सबसे कम कॉपर, सिल्वर. But in aluminium, zinc, iron, these have properties of basic oxides as well as acidic oxides because they lie in the middle of the reactivity series. Okay, so these are both acidic as well as basic. Such oxides are known as amphoteric oxides. Amphoteric oxides. So these metals will form amphoteric oxides. Amphoteric means properties of acids as well as basic. So metals which are present in middle of the reactivity series are amphoteric because they have properties of acids as well as bases. So aluminum oxide is amphoteric oxide, iron oxide is amphoteric oxide. Now I am writing a question, you have to solve this. If I write that how will sodium oxide will react with HCl. Look at this reaction carefully. There is on one side there is acid, on another side there is metal oxide means base. So acid plus base makes salt. Chapter 2. Salt and water. Salt कैसे बनेगा? Na and Cl, NaCl plus H2. Okay, so you understand that how do metal oxides react with acids. Okay, you can balance this reaction. Na is 2, Cl is 2. Okay, in this way you can balance this reaction. But if I write Al2O3, which is an amphoteric oxide, aluminium oxide, क्योंकि ये एम्फोटेरिक है, इसमें बेसिक की प्रॉपर्टीज हैं और एसिडिक की प्रॉपर्टीज हैं, इट मींस दैट इट विल रिएक्ट विद एसिड्स एज वेल एज बेसिस. So when aluminum oxide reacts with HCl and it also reacts with sodium hydroxide, which is a base. Okay, what I am trying to say that aluminum oxide has both basic and acidic properties, so it also reacts with both acids and bases. So how will the reaction take place? First we take this reaction, aluminum oxide plus hydrochloric acid, Al2O3 plus HCl. Okay, this is acid, and in this reaction, this aluminum oxide is acting as base. So it will form a salt, AlCl3, aluminum chloride plus water. Okay. Another reaction, aluminum oxide plus sodium hydroxide. Because sodium hydroxide is a base, in this reaction, aluminum oxide will act as an acid. Acid plus base will make a salt, and this salt is something different, NaEl4. This salt you are not familiar with. Now you will be familiar that this is sodium, aluminum, and oxygen. Okay, you call this sodium aluminate. Sodium aluminate. This is a salt. जैसे कि एल्यूमिनियम क्लोराइड एक सॉल्ट होता है, वैसे ही सोडियम एल्यूमिनेट भी सॉल्ट होता है, बट इट हैज 2 metals and 1 non-metal plus H. So if I ask one question to you, that how will you prove that aluminum oxide is an amphoteric oxide? You will write down reaction of aluminum oxide with both acids and bases. They react with both of them. It proves that aluminum oxide is an amphoteric oxide. Okay, you can balance this reaction, no problem. Like other reactions, Al twice O3, you can put, because aluminum is 2 here, so you have to make 2 also here. Okay, now chlorine is 6, so you have to put 6 here. Now hydrogen is 6, so you have to make this hydrogen 6 by putting 3 here. Okay, now this reaction is balanced. Similarly, you can also balance this reaction. Try to balance this reaction. Okay, very easy like this. Okay, they prove that aluminum oxide, zinc oxide, iron oxide, these are amphoteric oxides. Okay, if any doubt, you can write down. Okay. So metal oxides के बारे में आप पढ़ रहे हो. Metal oxides are basic in nature. Okay. Now we will study reaction of metals with water. How will metals react with water? एक चीज आपको समझ आ जानी चाहिए कि जो highly reactive metal है, they will react more vigorously with water. Okay. So potassium या sodium, कोई भी. Whenever it reacts with water, that reaction is very exothermic. Exothermic, you know that in first chapter, it releases high amount of energy. So it is so reactive. Potassium, sodium are so reactive that they react with water to form high amount of energy. What will be the products? Product will be sodium or potassium hydroxide. If we are taking sodium, then it will be sodium hydroxide, and you know that sodium hydroxide is a base. Okay, sodium hydroxide plus H2. What is H2? Is hydrogen gas. Okay, plus heat. Reaction of sodium or potassium with what? Since sodium, potassium is very highly reactive, it reacts quickly with water to release hydrogen gas and heat. And since hydrogen is inflammable gas, so hydrogen combines with heat to form, and when hydrogen combines with heat, blast can occur. So this reaction is very exothermic. Okay, similarly with sodium, you can write the same reaction. Like sodium and potassium catch fire in open air, they also catch fire in water. Okay. So this is the reaction of highly reactive metal with water. I am writing this again. Sodium is also highly reactive. Will react with hydrogen to form sodium hydroxide plus hydrogen. Okay. Now, if we take some moderate reactive metal like zinc or iron or calcium and magnesium, we take calcium. Calcium is highly reactive or sodium? Can you tell by the reactivity series? Because sodium is above calcium, so sodium is higher reactive than calcium. What will be this reaction? Calcium plus water. Can you write down? The same reaction will take place. Calcium hydroxide plus hydrogen. Okay, same reaction. But the difference is sodium is very highly reactive, so it can react with cold water. इसको आप cold water के साथ भी react करा सकते हो. But calcium is less reactive, so it only reacts with hot water. ठीक है? Calcium reacts with hot water because calcium is less reactive than sodium. Okay, and also there is one point in your book that this was also a board question, board exam question आया था कि how why does calcium float in water? तो calcium होता है पानी के ऊपर float क्यों करता है? क्यों करता है? So you do not have to write that calcium has low density. No, you have to write this reaction. That when calcium is dissolved is put in water, calcium hydroxide and hydrogen is formed, and this hydrogen gas sticks to the surface of calcium. ये जो hydrogen gas produce हुई है, ये calcium के surface पर stick हो जाता है. ठीक है? That's why calcium floats. Because due to bubbles of hydrogen gas sticking to the surface of calcium. Similarly, magnesium also floats in water because bubbles of hydrogen gas form sticks to the surface of magnesium. Okay, by this reaction you can write. So we take another metal which is zinc, iron, any metal. We take iron. Now, this is less reactive than calcium and sodium both. Calcium से become reactive है sodium से. Sodium was reactive with cold water. Calcium was reactive with hot water. Now, iron is very less reactive. So can it react with cold or hot water? No, it will not react with cold and hot water. It will react with steam, and steam is the vapor form of water. H2O, steam, gas. अगर आप steam show करते हो, you write in bracket gas because this is the gaseous form of water. So iron reacts with steam. Okay. If there is a question, I am asking you one question that why does iron not react with water and it reacts with steam? ऐसा क्यों होता है? Because iron is very less reactive, so it cannot react with water. It reacts with steam. Okay. So what will be the products in this reaction? Because this reaction is not very quick, iron is less reactive, so the products will be different. In that those reactions, hydroxide was formed, but in this reaction only oxide will be formed because this reaction is not very stable. Fe2O3 plus hydrogen. Okay, ferric oxide plus hydrogen. So you must differentiate between these three reactions. Can you understand the differences between these three reactions? 1, 2, 3. Okay, there are differences in water forms. It is cold water, that is hot water, and that is steam, according to the reactivity of metals. And these are also the different, because in highly reactive hydroxide will be formed and in less reactive oxide will be formed. Now I am writing another reaction. The least reactive metal. Can you name any least reactive metal? जो सबसे कम reactive होती है. Copper. Okay, copper is very less reactive. Reaction of copper with water. Can copper react with water? No. No reaction. Because copper is not that reactive that it can react with water. Copper is very less reactive. Okay. So these all four reactions you can write down. If any doubt, you can ask. Nobody has any doubt? Okay. So, differentiate between these four reactions, write them down, practice these reactions, and you will learn. Okay, so these were the reactions of metals with water. Read this section from NCERT book also. So, copper, silver, gold. These are the metals which do not react with water at all. So, now we will proceed. I should rub this. Any doubt, please write down. I can tell you right now if you have any doubt. Please write down if you have any doubt. I'm waiting for 1 minute. If you have any doubt, you can ask. Okay, I am rubbing this. We have studied reaction of metal with oxygen with water. Now we will study the reaction of metals with acids. What are acids? You have studied in chapter 2. Acids are those substances which give hydrogen ions in water. Okay. So examples of some acids are hydrochloric acid, H2SO4, sulfuric acid, and nitric acid. Okay, these are the reaction of metals with acids. All the metals react with acids according to their reactivity series, and reaction of HCl and H2SO4 is almost same, but reaction of metals with nitric acid is different. You will study that reaction of metals with nitric acid is slightly different. Why, you will know about this later. In chapter 2, you studied this. You have studied this reaction in chapter 2. That metals react with acids to form hydrogen gas. Metal plus acid. Okay. Salt plus hydrogen gas. This is the general reaction. In all the reactions, you can use this format. So we see any reaction. One more point, that metals generally react with dilute acids. Here we write dilute because concentrated acids are sometimes very oxidizing. So we write dilute acid. Okay. So I am writing reaction of zinc with hydrochloric acid. Write down the products in your notebook. Write down this reaction. Salt, hydrogen gas release होगी, and so when H2 is released, salt किससे बनेगा? Zinc से और chloride से. कोई भी salt generally metal और non metal से ही बनता है. Zinc is metal, Cl is non metal. Zinc chloride formula आपको याद होनी चाहिए. Zinc chloride is ZnCl twice because valency of zinc is 2 and chlorine valency is 1. Okay, so ZnCl2 plus H2. Similarly, you can write down the reaction of iron with dilute HCl. What will be the products? Iron chloride plus hydrogen. Okay, same. These two reactions are same. No difference. Now we will study reaction of copper. with dilute HCl products. Write down the products. Will this reaction is possible? Is this reaction possible? No reaction. There is no reaction. Why? Can anybody tell me that why this reaction will not take place? Why this reaction will not take place? See the reactivity series. कॉपर जो है, कॉपर और लेड के बीच में होता है हाइड्रोजन. ये हाइड्रोजन नॉन मेटल होता है, दैट्स व्हाई मेटल सीरीज में नहीं आता है. बट यू शुड नो दैट हाइड्रोजन इज मोर रिएक्टिव देन कॉपर एंड कॉपर इज लेस रिएक्टिव देन हाइड्रोजन. Okay, so when you react copper with hydrochloric acid, there is no reaction because copper is less reactive than hydrogen in HCl and copper cannot displace hydrogen. Okay, in this reaction, iron was more reactive than hydrogen, so iron displaced hydrogen forming iron chloride. Okay. Zinc was more reactive than hydrogen, so it displaces hydrogen forming zinc chloride. But copper is not more reactive than hydrogen, so copper cannot displace hydrogen. That's why there will be no reaction. Similarly, least reactive metal like silver, gold. Silver can react with any substance. Okay. So this was the reaction of metals with acid. If we take sulfuric acid, H2SO4, the reaction will be same, but the Cl2 will change to SO4. The pattern of reaction will be same. Okay, can you write down the reaction of iron with H2SO4? Reaction of iron with H2SO4. Same reaction, same pattern, but since Cl2 will shift to sulfate, FeSO4. Okay. Copper with H2SO4, same, no reaction. Okay. So this was the reaction of metals with any acid. If you have any doubt, you can write. Now I told you that hydrochloric acid and sulfuric acid and nitric acid. So nitric acid will react differently with metals. Why? Nitric acid होता है HNO3. जब भी आप किसी भी मेटल की एसिड के साथ रिएक्शन लिख रहे हो, so you should remember कि वो एसिड नाइट्रिक एसिड तो नहीं है, क्योंकि अगर नाइट्रिक एसिड होगा तो रिएक्शन अलग होगा. ऐसा क्यों होता है? Because since you can see oxygen are 3 molecules, so generally nitric acid is highly oxidizing. This is a oxidizing agent. Nitric acid is oxidizing agent. That's why जो हाइड्रोजन गैस फॉर्म हो रही है, it will convert into hydrogen oxide, means water. So in reaction of metals with nitric acid, hydrogen gas will not be formed because nitric acid is oxidizing agent and it will change hydrogen to hydrogen oxide, forming water. So we write one reaction of metal with nitric acid and metal, zinc plus, we always take dilute HNO3. What will be the reaction? Salt. How will salt will be formed in this reaction? HCl में zinc chloride था, H2SO4 में zinc sulfate था और HNO3 में zinc nitrate होगा. So zinc nitrate will be this. Zinc nitrate. Zinc has valency 2, nitrate has charge -1. So zinc nitrate plus H2 will not be formed, water will be formed, and besides water, NO2 will also be formed. ठीक है. So reaction of nitric acid with metals is this different. Zinc plus dilute nitric acid will form zinc salt, zinc nitrate plus nitrogen dioxide plus water. So you can see this reaction is different from this general reaction because HNO3 is oxidized. Okay, but there is one exception. You can write another more reactions like iron with dilute HNO3. Okay, so same products will be formed: iron nitrate, nitrogen dioxide, and water. Okay, but there is also one exception in this reaction. What are those exceptions? See, the highly reactive metals like magnesium. ठीक है, in this reaction अगर मेटल का कैरेक्टर ज्यादा होगा, मेटल ज्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग होगी, तो हाइड्रोजन गैस रिलीज होने की पॉसिबिलिटी ज्यादा होगी. ठीक है, if metal is strong, very strong, and acid is very dilute, then hydrogen gas will be formed also in case of nitric acid. ठीक है, so if we take magnesium, which is very reactive, magnesium or manganese. Manganese is also a metal. Magnesium is Mg and manganese is Mn. Both are highly reactive metals. When they react with very dilute nitric acid, hydrogen gas will be formed. You can see, you can understand this exception that when the metal is very reactive, like magnesium and manganese, it will react with very dilute HNO3 to release hydrogen, and the reaction will be same like above. Magnesium nitrate plus hydrogen. So you can see this is the general reaction. जैसा कि generally होता है, metal with acid forms hydrogen. Okay. So in case of nitric acid too, sometimes hydrogen gas will be formed when metal is very highly reactive. Okay, can you understand? If you have not understood, please write down. So the basic point is metals with acid form hydrogen. Generally all metals with dilute acids form hydrogen. But if there is nitric acid, if acid is nitric acid, in that case hydrogen will be changed to hydrogen oxide water. But if metal is very highly reactive, then hydrogen gas will be formed in nitric acid too. Okay. I am writing some reactions. You have to solve them by yourself. And like iron plus dilute HCl. First reaction is this. Second is iron plus, or you can take zinc. Zinc plus dilute HNO3. Okay, second reaction, and last reaction is manganese Mn plus dilute HNO3. This is your assignment for today. You have to solve them. Just 3 reactions. Look at all the concepts and then solve. Iron plus dilute HCl, zinc plus dilute HNO3, and manganese plus dilute HNO3. Amphoteric means, Shagun Joshi is asking, amphoteric means acid as well as base. Any substance has acidic properties as well as basic properties, it means that that is amphoteric. If you have written down this, iron plus zinc plus magnesium. Now, we will study. You studied that metal oxides are basic, right? Metal oxides are basic. You know about the base. Do you know what is alkali? In chapter 2, you have understood the difference between base and alkali. What is the difference between base and alkali? Both are bases, but alkali are those bases which can dissolve in water. जो bases water में dissolve हो जाते हैं, that are alkalis, and only strong metals make alkalis like sodium and potassium. इसकी रिएक्शन में आपने देखा था alkali gas form sodium hydroxide soluble in water. This is an alkali. ठीक है? So you should read this topic from your NCERT book and notes I will provide you today. You have to write, you have to learn reaction by practicing. Reaction से देखने से आपको नहीं आएगी. You will have to write it down 2 or 3 times, then you will learn. Okay. So in next class we will proceed to some few topics which are left. This class is over for today.